Hello guys, these are all my thoughts and opinions based on public info that's out there. Do your own research and be nice in the comments. In the past days, I have received so many emails from different people asking me or telling me basically that Harry is under a spell, that it's all Meghan's fault, hoping that when he lands that there's this rift or feud that's going to be mended. Some of you know, if you have been following me for quite some time, you will know that I gave you the story of my sister. She's my only sister. She's younger than me, 14 years younger than me. She was like my daughter. And you guys know one of the things that she did. We have choices in life. Sometimes the choices are very good ones. Sometimes we have to choose from less evil things to do. Depending on, we may have limited choices. My sister's choices to harm me and my mother, our mother, caused so much. Okay, forget the pain, emotional pain, whatever, blah, blah, blah you want to call it. But logistically made my situation and my mother's situation harder in many fronts. Legal, my son also. My son suffered a lot because my sister, in order to help my ex-husband, contributed to the narrative that my son was mentally unstable because my ex-husband was fighting really hard to have his testimony, my son's testimony, dismissed because it was so damaging for him that the best thing for him to do was to declare our son mentally unstable and incompetent. When she started doing all of that, everything in life has that ripple effect, and the further away you go, things get worse. There's absolutely no action in life or choice in life that doesn't have consequences. In my case, it was my son and I had to go through 11 evaluations by different psychiatrists and psychologists to determine first that I'm not a psychopath, that I'm a good mother, that I'm not a sociopath like my ex was saying that I was, that I wasn't brainwashing our son's thing. My son was put through like 11 because we went through the same thing separately. Psychologist, I had to wake him up. He was stressed. He developed ulcers. His childhood changed completely because of what my sister did along with my ex-husband. Those are actions that cannot be erased. I cannot go back. I think I'm gonna start crying, but I hope I'm not. I cannot go back and give my son a childhood. So you have consequences. Their actions had consequences, and they could have taken different actions. The same thing applies with Harry. From what I've been told, they were informed that Prince Philip was dying, that he didn't have very long to live, and they rushed to do the interview. Now, the interview itself, they were allowed to speak, but this was a perfect option for them to say something positive about Prince Philip and the Queen, to be nice, to say, we love our grandparents, my grandfather is this and that, my grandmother is this and that. No. They used the interview to deliberately hurt, cause as much pain, and to target and cause an attack when what you would think your enemy is down. This was a perfect way for Harry to get his message across as to how much he loved his grandfather, as to how great the royal family was to him and his wife, and how he was starting his life separately. He chose not to do that. Many people want to blame Meghan. Meghan is a complete bloody moron. She's not a smart woman. She's not even a smart narcissist or psychopath, because at 39 years of age, the only reason, or let's say 36, 37, she had nothing. She had a university education. She wasn't using it. She wasn't actress. She wasn't acting at all. She couldn't get a job anywhere. The thing that she could do is rope this guy. Now, I've spoken before as to what I think of Harry, and I see the other day I saw, and the reason why I'm saying these things, guys, because all the emails I get is because the need for people to continue removing responsibility for Harry's actions. Harry, just like Meghan, has had his whole life that all the messes that he makes are cleaned up and blamed on others. When he was racist towards this, when he was caught in that race scandal that he did, it wasn't him who apologized. And I urge you to please go back and check at that. There was a thing by Buckingham Palace issued like a statement where they were saying, oh, Harry, but it was always an excuse. It wasn't somewhat an apology. I don't think it was an apology, more like an acknowledgement that the incident happened and that they were doing something, and it wasn't his intention to be racist, and that this is something that's called. In other words, it was never an admittance. I am really sorry from Harry. I am deeply apologetic for the pain I've caused. I have not. He was sent to a race gender seminar to get in touch with his things, in Vegas, he was caught doing something. Everything all his life has been cleaned up. He has never faced any consequences for his actions. So I see Katie Nichols, whom I really like. I really like her. I'm a big fan, actually. Oh, our wonderful prince is coming home. Just like the consequences, my son's life, my life was never the same because of everything that's happened and actions that my sister made it harder. Now that I'm still fighting those consequences, guys. This happened in 2013. I'm in 2021, still going to court. I have a court date in September. Not because I'm ceasing or saying, because I'm still fighting off, and I don't go after them. But it's just these people, you will not stop them until you really have to do something drastic about it. And it's changed my life. That interview that Harry and Meghan gave, it was premeditated. They did it because they knew that it would be much harder to slander them after the death of Prince Philip, and they might have to postpone that. They also did that interview because they wanted to ride on the publicity that Prince Philip being in the hospital was bringing on them, because people saying, oh, Prince Philip is in the hospital, so there was the royal family was more in the news, so they wanted to ride that PR wave. So they sat there. People say, oh, there's problems in the marriage. There's no problems in the marriage. The interview is not a bombshell interview. It would be a bombshell interview if everything they said was true, like a whistleblowing thing. It was not. It was one lie after another lie after another lie. And they used Oprah Winfrey, who is another nutcase, because Oprah Winfrey gave them credibility. And the ignorance people have towards the royal family in the UK, they took for granted that because Oprah was not disagreeing with them and was giving them free rein to say whatever they wanted, it must be true. That Harry has to be held accountable. This is not a matter of a public squabble. And I'll tell you why. One of the things that is the most devastating thing, the only person in the United Kingdom who can have a conversation about titles is our most gracious queen. So when Meghan Markle said that when conversations were being had about the title of the child and the color, and how the color of the skin would be a hindrance, in other words, and his security, because the only person on this planet in the UK who could have that conversation is Her Majesty the Queen. So Meghan was saying that Her Majesty the Queen was a bigot, a racist, unfeeling person, because she is the only one who can grant titles and decides on things. So they were lying. They were lying because they were trying to destroy the work of Her Majesty the Queen and Prince Philip. Her Majesty the Queen, along with the support of her husband, have been building, always building things up, always contributing to improve us and everybody else. Meghan has always been destroying. She destroys everything she touches, and Harry is no better. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, well, as soon as he gets under her spell. No. Meghan Markle cannot be blamed for the choices that Harry makes. Just like I cannot blame you for the choices I make. I have options. I mean, I have choices I can make. I mean, you can bully me into doing something or try to bully me, but I have my choices. Harry knows what he's doing. He has come to the UK. If he had been another human being, he would have said, you know what? Now, I'm gonna clear something up, because I thought of the 5-day rule. So I called the UK embassy here where I am. And I asked if I'm landing and can I get, and this is what they told me. When you land, if you still want to do the 5-day, which is an option, a 5-day, what's it called, a test. When you land, you don't take the test the day you land. You take it 2 days after. You have to please remember that this is a virus that needs time to gestate, to develop. This is why they have these deadlines, because if you catch the virus and the plane, it takes 7 to 10 days for it to show up in your bloodstream, in your system. So you take the test the second day you land, and then on the 5th day you land. And it doesn't take minutes to get the results, because I asked, can you get it in minutes? And they said, no, ma'am. This is what the guy said to me. It's not a pregnancy test, ma'am. It was so funny. But it was true. It takes 24 to 48 hours to get the test results, even in private, in private labs. So even if Harry takes it on the Friday, it would still takes 24 to 48 hours to get the test results. And even then, if you go out, and even then after that, you still have to take the test on the 8th day. Because even if it doesn't show up on the 5th day, it might show up on the 3rd exam. This is why you have those 10 days that you quarantine, because it takes that length for the virus to develop, if it indeed is present in your body. So he is willing to come all the way to the UK, put others at risk, just so he can get his own PR. Because what he's getting here is free PR. Make no mistake that he's getting his own photographers to take pictures of him. And make no mistake, I am pretty sure, let me see if I can call this right. You will see pictures taken by his photographers, because he must have them somewhere. They will have photographers, and even CBS will have people there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they post them in Archwell with pictures of Harry and them, because they are going to ride the wave of free PR, because Harry is desperate for the entire world to see him as being one of the royal families. For people to say, wait, if he's still part of the royal family, it means that we can do business with him because we have access to the royal family. This is, in my opinion, the only reason why Harry is here. He could have been the bigger man and said, you know what, due to COVID restrictions. I do love my grandfather. Give a very few, even do a 3-4 minutes video, you know, talking about his grandfather and how much he loved him, blah, blah, blah. And say, I can't come to the funeral because of COVID. I don't want to risk the health of my other family members. No, it's coming because he has to be on TV. He wants the press. And Meghan wants that too, because they will put it up in their website. They will sell the pictures that they have. I am pretty sure that they will have their photographers. Don't make no mistake about that. And they will sell them. And that's another story that he'll go back and talk to Oprah about. So when Harry, people like Katie Nichols, Alex Belfield, even Lady C, who's saying, you know, oh, it's great that he's here. Why? Why is it great that you have a rat or a snake back in your home? It makes no sense. At what point are Harry's choices going to be his? At what point is it going to stop being somebody else's fault and it's going to be his? He should not be in the UK. He accused his grandmother, falsely accused his grandmother of racism, bigotry. But it wasn't even his grandmother, because in that interview, he did not refer to her as my grandmother. He referred to her as his boss. That's not. So I disagree with everybody. I am no fan of Meghan Markle. I think she's despicable. But Harry chose the partner he wanted to be with. I do believe that Chelsea and Cressida did marry him, not because they were afraid of the limelight, because if they were, they would have never dated him to begin with. They would have run the other way as soon as they found out he was Prince Harry and what was going on with him. But he chose his mate. She has the values he has been looking for his life. He is not going to change. He has had opportunities to do things differently. He has chosen not to. And Meghan Markle is simply going along for the ride. She is a rat, a snake, a skunk. But Harry chose her, and he's standing by her. Since he landed in the UK, all of these articles haven't stopped, and the people in the press haven't stopped publishing them. I wish they would stop. Now, guys, if you go to Archwell, that website, your details, even if you think you're hiding the VPN thing, you're not hiding it. I'll tell you why. Serena's husband developed this platform that they trace the correct IP addresses from people who use VPNs. That is what his thing does the most. So when you click there, they will collect your entire details. They will sell them, and they get money for every click they get. My prediction is that you will see pictures of them on the Archwell website or in CBS or anywhere else, because they are doing this. So for all those people who are still blind about Harry, Harry is a traitor. You can't go back and erase the thing. He was asked not to. And he was asked not to do the bloody interview. He could have gone to the UK and said, Grandpa, spend time with his grandfather. Try to clear things with his grandfather. And if he wanted to do the Oprah Winfrey interview, he could have done it. But he should have spoken the truth. And instead, he chose to lie. He chose to lie. And that's who he is. Meghan Markle and him are a match made in heaven, even if people don't want to admit it. You know, so that's my answer to all the emails I've been receiving about Harry. He chose her. They complete each other, just like Tom Cruise says, she completes me. So she completes him. Harry is who he is. And make no mistake, he's not a nice person. His actions speak louder than any words he may put or get other friends to speak. Anyways, leave your comments and let me know what you think.